Star Wars has ignited the imagination of generations of moviegoers here in the United States and around the world. I know that I can say that it's one of the biggest reasons why I do what I do, and the original trilogy sparked that for me in a way that nothing else ever could. So, without further ado, let's talk about the films that started it all, from the classic heights to the special editions. A New Hope expertly establishes a broad canvas in several key ways, but the most obvious one comes from a very simple motto: Kusna, or keep it simple, nerf herder. Sure, the movie has to set the stage through the iconic opening crawl, but it expertly weaves what we learned there into a visual language that is unlike any other. Rebels, Empire, individualized rebel guards, collectivized stormtroopers. On top of that, the movie is constantly feeding the viewer information without disrupting the pacing or flow in the slightest. Let's take Princess Leia's capture as our first example, shall we? She raises a stink in front of Darth Vader because the Empire supposedly attacked a diplomatic vessel from its own Senate. Well, if that's the case, why did the two vessels shoot at one another in the first place? She's clearly trying to pull something out of her butt, and it enrages Vader.
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away!
Of course, the added context from Rogue One makes the scene even funnier than it ever could be on its own, but Leia's in trouble no matter how you slice it. We all know what happens next. Before her capture, Leia handed off the Death Star plans to R2-D2. He has a job to do, so he escapes to the planet below with his irritated butler, C-3PO. Since the movie did not establish what is going on down there, we have to take a breather and... what is that? No, seriously, what is that? Perfect. This focus on economical storytelling even stretches to the relationship between Luke, Owen, and Beru. At the start, our farm boy hero is a little whiny.
But I was going into Tashi Station to pick up some power converters.
But his discovery of Leia and Obi-Wan Kenobi clues us in that his guardians know more than they're letting on.
I told you to forget it.
Huh, we're gonna come back to that soon enough. R2 leaves to find Obi-Wan, Luke gets ambushed by the Tuskens, and Obi-Wan intervenes.
Hello there.
When our main characters take cover in the Jedi's hut, we get even more information about the state of the galaxy. Obi-Wan paints a clear picture of civil war and rising darkness, but it's not that accurate.
A young Jedi named Darth Vader, who was a pupil of mine until he turned to evil, helped the Empire hunt down and destroy the Jedi Knights. He betrayed and murdered your father.
It's important to note that all of this creates a good point of entry to the saga. Over on the Death Star, the Imperials are concerned about the growing strength of the rebellion, but there's one other thing.
The Imperial Senate will no longer be of any concern to us. I have just received word that the Emperor has dissolved the Council permanently. The last remnants of the old Republic have been swept away.
In other words, the Empire is evil in part because there is no longer any room for discussion, debate, or reason. You will do as you are told, or you will die. To make matters even worse, one of the officers mocks Vader's devotion to the Force, so it naturally leads to a...
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Oh, you wanted to see a way that the bad guys could use the Force? You definitely got it. With that said, there is a bit of a problem when Owen and Beru are killed off and the good guys have to make their way to Mos Eisley. After a bar fight with some criminals and a money-fueled meeting, Han is confronted by Greedo. We get some information about how the man has a price on his head, but George Lucas let the alien shoot first for some reason. Okay, there is a reason. He didn't want to let Han seem like a monster. Let's ask ourselves a couple of questions just so we can understand the reasoning here. If someone points a weapon at you out of the blue, what is that person's intent? What are weapons like that made for? Why would a man be a monster when he's clearly defending himself against an obvious threat? Han Solo absolutely shot first. What happens next is pretty horrifying. Leia won't give up the rebel base, so Grand Moff Tarkin menacingly threatens Alderaan. Peter Cushing's performance shows off a lot of passion, especially when Tarkin tries to intimidate Leia. Our princess lies, and Tarkin destroys her home anyway. This is really quite chilling, especially when Obi-Wan feels it through the Force.
As if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced. I fear something terrible has happened.
The rising threat leads to a long stretch of virtually non-stop action. Once our guys get pulled into the Death Star, they're completely outgunned, so they have to sneak around. While Obi-Wan goes for the tractor beam, Luke, Han, and Chewie try to rescue Leia. It doesn't work out all that well.
Everything's perfectly alright now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
In my opinion, this bit illustrates why Harrison Ford became a star. But it's not enough to just sit there and offer up some action. We need some absolutely ballistic tension between Han and Leia, a garbage monster, and...
Just avoid any more female advice. We gotta be able to get out of here. Well, let's get moving.
What? In all fairness, though, Leia follows it up with some casual isms of her own.
Will somebody get this big walking carpet out of my way?
As Obi-Wan clears the way for the escape, Leia chimes in with something interesting.
You came in that thing? You're braver than I thought.
Leia, you don't need to be so rude. What happens in the Space Freighter stays in the Space Freighter. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan and Vader find each other. It's clearly a tense moment until Luke walks up, slashes Vader across the face, and leaves him for dead. Oh wait, I read from the plagiarized script. It actually leads to this. There's no real time to mourn though. Our mains have to make their escape and fight off a bunch of TIE fighters. Once they get away, we get a little bit of bickering.
I expect to be well paid. I'm in it for the money.
Then again, it also might be kind of awkward.
So, what do you think of her, hon?
Trying not to, kid.
Good.
I'm sure that nothing will come along to make this seem incredibly weird. Nothing at all. On the plus side, our heroes have made it to Yavin. While they don't know if there's a confirmed weakness in the Death Star, the setup of an ambush is a good idea. Sure enough, R2 and the rebels find one. A target shaft that is only 2 meters wide. As Luke prepares for battle, Han and Chewie seek to leave.
What good's the reward if you ain't around to use it? Besides, attacking that battle station ain't my idea of courage. It's more like suicide.
Luke chastises Han for his selfishness, and that gives the pirate some doubts. Of course, we have to finish it off with the Battle of Yavin. The X-Wings provide cover for the Y-Wings, but the Empire deploys TIEs in response. However, the Rebels gain the upper hand, so Vader has to go out there. The Dark Lord single-handedly wastes the Y-Wings.
That came from behind.
So the X-Wings have to do it. Vader strikes those again. Red Leader gets a shot off, but it doesn't work out. Therefore, Luke has to do a third run. One of the TIEs clips Wedge, and Vader kills Luke's old friend, Biggs. It seems like a disaster is about to happen, so 3 people intervene.
Use the Force, Luke.
R2 is blown away, and the Death Star is about to fire. All of the sudden, Han and Chewie show up, and one of the TIE pilots panics. That gives Luke the opening to take his shot. And as we all know, the movie ends with a medal ceremony, but Chewie doesn't get one for some reason. Whoops. Now that we know the characters, The Empire Strikes Back gives us an opportunity to dive deeper. It's a little light on plot some of the time, but the killer opening more than makes up for that. After all, where would we be without fun set pieces and absolutely ballistic tension on a nice world called Hoth? Then again, we can't focus on that because Luke is caught out in the cold with a furry. Oh, okay, never mind, he's just out in the cold. But he has to go to Dagobah and talk to Yoda? Man. Thankfully, he and Han survive the Dark Knight, but there's a problem. No, not that one, the probe droid that got set loose at the beginning of the movie. Han and Chewie take it out, and the rebels order an evacuation. The Empire got photos from the droid, so Vader orders his task force to Hoth. The giant fleet creates a perimeter around the planet, but that might have been the wrong thing to do.
You have failed me for the last time, Admiral.
I know that the movie set this up earlier with this bit of info.
With all the meteor activity in this system, it's going to be difficult to spot approaching ships.
However, why wouldn't the Empire just assume that the probe got spotted in broad daylight? If you can see them, why wouldn't they be able to see you? This interpretation may not have been George Lucas's intention, but it points to how tyrants lose wars. They casually underestimate the enemy and hurt or kill anyone who might think differently. That doesn't actually stop the Battle of Hoth from turning into a curb stomp. Although the rebels wind up saving the vast majority of their forces, everyone has to flee. They're completely outgunned. It's here that the story splits in two. Let's take it one plot line at a time. Han, Leia, Chewie, and 3PO have to go on the run into an asteroid field. The initial chase is a lot of fun, but the hideout in a cave should compel everyone to agree on one thing. Han Solo has game, Riz, whatever you want to call it.
Captain, being held by you isn't quite enough to get me excited.
Sorry, sweetheart. I haven't got time for anything else.
And no, I don't want to hear a peep about how Han is some weirdo in the comments. These two are clearly interested in each other.
Han, we need you.
We need?
Yes,
Well, what about you need?
I know. I don't know what you're talking about.
The excuses are arbitrary.
Stop that. My hands are dirty.
My hands are dirty too. What are you afraid of?
And it's clear that there are some things that we haven't seen.
You like me because I'm a scoundrel. There aren't enough scoundrels in your life.
Of course, we can't completely focus on that relationship. Something weird is going on outside. Although Leia objects, they have no choice but to get out of there.
Empire is still out there. I don't think it's
We're trying to discuss this in committee.
I am not a committee.
What a classic. The cave is collapsing though, or is it? This worm creature seems like a nod to Lovecraft, 1950s sci-fi, or both. No matter the influence, our heroes make their escape, run into an Imperial Star Destroyer, and latch onto its back. Han and Leia figured that they'll float away with the garbage and find a safe port at Bespin, but something's wrong. A bounty hunter is after them. We'll leave it off here for now and take a look at the other half of this act. While the rebels regroup, Luke follows Obi-Wan's command to go to Dagobah instead. Everything seems okay at the start, except that he crash lands in a swamp. This isn't ideal, of course, but he...
R2? R2!
Well, nuts. At least R2 is okay, isn't he? Okay, R2 isn't in that bad a shape, so...
I feel like we're being watched.
Who is this guy? I mean, he can talk, yet he...
R2!
Well, this fella can't be Yoda. Still, he invites Luke over for dinner. At the hut, the green alien lets slip that he knew Luke's father, and...
No, I don't even know what I'm doing here. We're wasting our time.
This is masterful. The Greenie's demeanor completely changes and we learn that he is indeed Yoda. The Jedi Master needles Luke for his arrogance, including this bit about his focus.
Never his mind on where he was. What he was doing.
Yoda initially rejects Luke's willingness to press on, but gives in. However, his training comes with a chilling warning.
I'm not afraid.
You will be. You will be.
As Luke goes for a run, Yoda lets us know about the dark side and what a Jedi is supposed to be.
A Jedi uses the Force for knowledge and defense. Never for attack.
This is a setup for Luke's exploration of a dark side cave. Although our hero just heard the same thing we did, he takes his weapons along anyway. Well, I guess it's good to be prepared though, right? Wait, how is Vader here? This has to be a vision. Luke sees himself in the defeated Vader, which is absolutely fantastic foreshadowing. During a rock lifting session, Luke's X-Wing sinks, so Yoda asks him to pull it out. This leads to one of my favorite lines in all of movie history.
No. Try not. Do. Or do not. There is no try.
Of course, Luke can't really do it because he doesn't trust in himself or the Force. Not yet anyway. However, Yoda is here to show us what is possible. There is one more lesson where Yoda wisely stays off Luke's feet, but that is interrupted when Luke sees a vision of Han and Leia in pain. Our young hero can't really think about anything else, so he has to head off to Bespin to fight. Let's rewind just a little bit. The Falcon lands on Cloud City and we meet Lando, an old friend of our favorite scoundrels. He offers them a place to stay, but it soon becomes clear that something else is going on.
Who are you?
Who am I? Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I didn't mean to intrude. No, please don't get up.
Luckily, Chewie found the droid. That helps. Vader, the bounty hunter, and some stormtroopers are here too. Uh-oh. Han is tortured for no particular reason, which makes him very, very angry. Oh right, there's actually a reason that can be inferred. It's to draw Luke to Bespin. Leia, Chewie, and 3PO can ultimately do very little because Han is about to be put into carbon freeze. With that said, Han goes out with swagger.
I love you.
I know.
On the plus side, he survived the freezing process. Then again, Leia and Chewie are now hostages.
I am altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
Although Lando is able to set Leia and Chewie free, their attempt to rescue Han doesn't work out. Meanwhile, Luke has to face Vader. This duel turns out to be a heroic distraction on Luke's part, but something feels off. Why would Vader hold back? Vader kicks it up a notch in the room below by throwing everything at Luke. When that doesn't really work, he jumps out of nowhere and beats Luke down.
You are beaten. It is useless to resist. Don't let yourself be destroyed as Obi-Wan did.
Can this get any worse? Yes, it can. But wait, there's more. Vader wants Luke to join him, destroy the Emperor, and end the war. Oh, and also, Obi-Wan might not have been telling the whole truth.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No. I am your father.
Vader wasn't really intended to be Luke's father from the outset, but this works spectacularly well. Why, you ask? It puts everything that we've seen thus far into a new light. After all, would Uncle Owen be fearful of a Jedi Knight or a pilot? What was the real reason why he stopped Luke from going to the Academy?
He has too much of his father in him.
That's what I'm afraid of.
To make matters even worse, Obi-Wan and Yoda clearly lied to Luke. What reason would he have to cling to Jedi orthodoxy? Luke doesn't have it in him to turn to the dark side, not yet anyway, so he takes a chance on falling into Cloud City. Thankfully, his friends are able to get there and pick him up in time. They evade Vader's clutches one last time and make their escape. Although our heroes have been through a nightmare, the movie ends with a little optimism. The rebellion can fight another day, Luke goes cyborg, and Han is still out there. There is still hope. Most people typically agree that Return of the Jedi is the weakest of the original trilogy, but I think that only a few can pin down why. To me, it suffers from one flaw that the other two movies lack. We only learn two new things about our characters and the galaxy. One of these is that the Empire wants to get its stranglehold on the galaxy back with a new Death Star. Vader is annoyed that the Moff in charge isn't working fast enough, and there's some incredible foreshadowing tucked in there.
I hope so, Commander, for your sake. The Emperor is not as forgiving as I am.
Wait, there's someone worse than the guy who strangles officers for fun? With that said, the opening plan to rescue Han makes a lot of sense if you consider that Luke is growing into his Jedi role. He wants to try to give Jabba multiple chances to do the right thing. However, the whole thing is really just a resolution for Han and Chewie's debts. It's not terrible, but there's not a lot to it. On the other hand, I like to appreciate artistry of all types. I just really like to see talent on screen, you know? Plus, the Rancor and the Sarlacc pit are good excuses for some awesome action. I mean, Boba Fett does die by complete accident, but Leia gets to kill Jabba. That's cool. Thankfully, our heroes get out mostly unscathed. The movie gets a lot better after this point, and that's demonstrated by the arrival of the Emperor. The big hammy bastard wants Vader to bring Luke before him once again. Even though this is kind of repeating the same points from Empire, it works. Did you really think that they'd stop their schemes after one go of it? I certainly didn't. Never mind that for now. Luke is returning to Dagobah. Apparently, Yoda got sick in between Empire and this movie. He's dying, but not before he imparts some reminders, confirms Vader's identity, and warns Luke not to underestimate the Emperor. Oh, and also... Wait, what? Obi-Wan expands on this by explaining that Luke has a twin sister, and they were split up when they were born. Okay, that's obvious because they'd be a threat to the Emperor, but who could the other one be?
Leia's my sister.
We're gonna come back to that. Over at the Rebel fleet, we learn more about the new Death Star. On the plus side, its guts are exposed to the universe, so it should be a little easier to handle. On the other hand, they lost a lot of spies, and it's protected by an energy shield on Endor. Han has volunteered to lead a strike on the generator, and all of his friends go with him. It's really quite nice to see that Han and Lando patch things up a bit. Han lets Lando take the Falcon, and the strike force heads off to Endor. When the commandos get to their target, Vader knows that they're there and lets them through. That does make sense if you consider that Vader wants to turn Luke. Once the rebels land on the surface, they have to hoof it to the shield generator. Han makes a klutzy mistake of trying to fight some scouts, and it leads to a speeder chase that is pretty neat. Although Luke makes it back to his team in one piece, Leia has to deal with someone. It's a teddy bear with a spear. I actually think that the Ewoks are a little underrated. When this one distracts another scout and gives Leia a fighting chance, we get a good picture of what the dynamic will be. Or so it seems. Han, Luke, Chewie, and the droids eventually find Leia's helmet, but something's off. Chewie smells an appetizing animal in the distance, and... These little guys are more ingenious than people might think. I mean, they captured our heroes and they think that 3PO is a god? Interesting. Then again, there's something quietly horrifying afoot here. The Ewoks want to cook Han, Chewie, and Luke alive over a fire. And if you think that this is just a cutesy thing that would never actually happen, where did Leia get that Force dress from? Thankfully, Luke uses the Force to trick them into a peaceful settlement, and 3PO gets our heroes into the tribe. Yay? Luke leaves the hut and Leia follows after. Here, Luke drops the double bomb of his parentage and familial relationships.
Yes. It's you, Leia.
I know. Somehow, I've always known.
Wait, what? You mean you knew when you did this? That is weird, Leia. Luckily, Han is there for her. It's nice, but weird. Luke surrenders to the Imperial garrison and is brought before Vader. Our hero tries to appeal to Anakin, which is a difficult ask.
That name no longer has any meaning for me.
It is the name of your true self you've only forgotten. I know there is good in you. The Emperor hasn't driven it from you fully.
Vader tells Luke that he'll be brought before the Emperor, but it's clear that the man is shaken. And thus, the Battle of Endor begins. As Han, Leia, and Chewie strike the generator, Luke faces a temptation like no other. He could kill the Emperor. It would only take a flick of his lightsaber. Is that the right thing to do, or would it turn him to the dark side? Oh, by the way, his friends have been captured and the Rebel fleet is here.
It's a trap!
How could this get any worse?
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Wait, what? It can target ships now? That almost scares the rebels into a retreat. However, Lando is willing to give Han and Leia more time. Luckily, the Ewoks are sowing some chaos on the ground, but it comes at a cost. Luke tries to assassinate the Emperor and Vader stops him. Father and son are on equal footing now, so Luke tries to appeal to Anakin once again.
You couldn't bring yourself to kill me before, and I don't believe you'll destroy me now.
You know, that might actually work.
If you will not fight, then you will meet your destiny.
Or not. The battle in space is as awesome as anyone would expect, but it could swing either way. Thankfully, Han tricks the garrison down below into opening up the doors for him. Up above, though, it gets worse.
Sister. So, you have a twin sister.
Oh, Vader found Luke's rage button. Uh-oh.
If you will not turn to the dark side, then perhaps she will.
Luke starts wailing on his father, skirting dangerously close to the dark side. However, he is able to realize this, stop himself, and throw away his weapon.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Clearly, it's all going wrong for the Emperor. The shield generator is destroyed, and the rebels are able to make their move on the Death Star. Unfortunately, Mr. Wrinkleface has one last trick up his sleeve. So, what can Vader do? He failed and failed and failed his entire life. In the face of all of that, he can be Anakin again and save his son. Although this is quite tragic, things are looking up outside.
Intensify forward firepower!
Then again, we do get some very inappropriate language. At long last, Anakin is dying. He wants to see his son's face without his mask, and we can hear a little bit of regret, too.
You were right. You were right about me.
Tell your sister you were right.
He's gone, but there's not much time to think about it. Lando and Wedge fly into the reactor and destroy it. Although there is a close call, our heroes get away from the Death Star and the day is won. However, there is one little bitty problem.
When he comes back, I won't get in the way.
Wait, what? I mean, it's nice that Han is very kind to Leia, but...
He's my brother.
Oh, thank the Force! As Luke gives his father a funeral, the rest of the galaxy receives news of the Rebel victory. This does a great job of tying the first 6 movies together, but we ultimately have to return to Endor. Our heroes have been through war and come out the other side in a way that Obi-Wan, Yoda, and many others never thought possible. They can rest for now, but the Force will be with them, always. As I said in the opening, Star Wars is a property that ignites the imagination, and it's easy to see why. Although the original trilogy isn't perfection incarnate, no movie series really is, its tale of a farm boy yearning for something more redefined the cinema as we know it. These movies capture a timeless mix of history, politics, mythology, and so much else. In the process, it found itself at the epicenter of American culture and built a legacy that is still going. We should all be so lucky. More than anything else, I want to thank George Lucas and all of the people who helped him to bring his vision to life. It certainly wasn't easy, but it will never be forgotten. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked that, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Sharing is caring as well, and I want to thank you for all of those. If you'd like to support the channel more directly, be sure to check out the links in the description. Keep your head up, and I'll see you next time.